just want to let people know, if they're not familiar with you, your background is in banking and finance. And one of the things that we're going to do now is have a look at the Bitcoin price chart and also Ethereum and Ripple. And you can tell us what you can see. This is on the daily chart. Interested in passive income? Check out this cryptocurrency savings scheme from Axion. Get a 10% bonus when you use my link and purchase through the Axion auctions. Then stake, save, earn, and spend. Link in the description below. I don't know what the box means, so I wasn't able to get it. This is on Charts and CoinTrader, which uses information from TradingView. And this is actually the coin market cap figures. So what do you see is likely to happen in the next few days, month, weeks?
Yeah. So, look, as always, it's difficult for us to give price targets or anything like that. But internally, of course,
like with investment advice, just to make it clear to people, this is not investment advice.
Exactly. So the thing is, we use a combination of technical and fundamental analysis in all of our investment activities. And with Ethereum, as you know, we hedged. We almost entirely offloaded. We didn't really believe that it would get back up this quickly. So obviously I was the first person to say that I was wrong. If you recall, I famously said that Ethereum would be at $20, $30 in the future, and that's its long-term fundamental value. It serves a great purpose, but the valuations are absurd. That's what I said a few years ago. And that Bitcoin would outperform. Now, Bitcoin has outperformed. We do like Bitcoin for a range of reasons, obviously for the same reasons PayPal likes it, or big hedge funds, institutions, and Michael Saylor type of actors out there. So we like it. The view that we have internally is we're just not trading it. So the DALP has taken a strategic position in Bitcoin a while back at a good price, much lower than where it is now, and it's taking a 10-year view. We wrote a report called Crossing the Rubicon. It was written by Hatchworks, or Will Bitcoin Cross the Rubicon? That's what it was called. It's highly recommended to read it. And that's it. There you have it. Can Bitcoin cross the Rubicon? It's a very important report because it actually goes over the risks and the rewards of Bitcoin. If the institutional world starts to treat it as an institutional asset or a reserve asset to some degree, right? Like it looks at real estate or equities or bonds or fixed income on the corporate side, and then metals, gold, silver. So, we created the grid, which allows potential investors or current investors to actually benchmark Bitcoin on a range of value metrics relative to other assets. So if you scroll down on that report, it's a good framework, I would say. The grid is a good framework because it really allows people to score Bitcoin relative to oil, gold, silver, bonds, equities, real estate, cash on a range of metrics and see where it currently sits. And look, it is at a structural discount to those peers. It has some ways to go to address risks. We like it long term, but the short term prices, we're kind of agnostic. Whether it drops to 12K, 15K now, and then goes to 30K, whatever, we're not really trading it. But having said that, we have a very strong TA background as well within the team, so we understand TA very well. And what is happening right now in the Bitcoin prices, although it has risen back from 17.7 to kind of 18.4 in the last 24 hours, the this month's trend, because of the very sharp move last month, does indicate that in the next few days, weakness could persist, right? We have seen a range that the price could, in theory, get all the way down to 17.2 still, right? Or even 17.1 for a range of technical factors. I personally don't see it going below there, but again, with Bitcoin, you never know. Bad news of regulators comes out or something about MTGOX and you get a sell-off. But from a chart TA standpoint, internally, we see 17.1 as a potential bear downside in terms of how much it could go. The thing about Bitcoin, though, is there's a lot of fundamentals in play now as well. A lot of corporations, a lot of heretofore, I would say, almost nonchalant attitudes in the institutional investing space have changed. They have started to change, and you're getting some very big names that are saying that, okay, Bitcoin has a place in institutional investor portfolios. How big that is, we will see. But that itself adds a bit of support to the price, right? what it also does is it changes the dynamic of the ownership. So if you go back 3 years, a famous doomsday theorist, Nouriel Roubini, has come out and said that, oh, Bitcoin is a shitcoin, it's crap. Every time it goes up, people will sell it, it'll stay down. You know, in 2018, 2017, the makeup of Bitcoin had a different institutional holder base, or the percentage of institutional holders was different as it is now. You know, PayPal didn't buy a whole load of Bitcoin in 2017 or 2018. They were still running due diligence on it. So that's good for Bitcoin in our view, because you have people with longer term horizons that are holding it. So if you remember, there's a spike down around the 22nd of November. Let me just find it. You know, Bitcoin recently broke its all-time high, as you know, right? So that's a incremental positive. But yeah, exactly. So if you go back to around 22nd of November, where it tried to break the all-time high, and it fell sharply, right? It fell to 16.2K on just within a day, right? Exactly, that big red candle, the one before. The one before that. So 22nd November, you see that big, yeah, exactly, that big red drop, right? There, that was a big litmus test for Bitcoin, because the last time this happened was actually in December 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So if you go back to, one moment.
Here we go.
Just pulling this up myself. Exactly. If you go back there, whatever period that, I think that was December 2017?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Roughly there. Yeah, so there it not only did it fall sharply back, yeah, it completely erased that month's gain, and that actually created or precipitated the long-term decline of Bitcoin. You remember that was the signaling of the bear market, right? 2018, and that just continued for years. So that was what people were worried about. Obviously, Nouriel Roubini, he's, you know, he clearly he has something against the space in general. So he has likened this recent, not only him, but generally other people who are anti-Bitcoin have likened this recent bull rise similar to that one. And that may be correct, but what I'm looking at right now is the number of transactions. What we look at is the distribution of nodes. We also look at, of course, the makeup, the makeup of who owns Bitcoin and what type of institutional views are getting in. So long term, you know, we are bullish on it. That, of course, doesn't mean that anyone else should be watching this interview. You should do your own research. You should look at the risks. There are significant risks to the supply of Bitcoin. So I think it'll just be a kind of a journey marred with ups and downs. It still is not. It still has very high volatility. You know, it can still lose $1,000, $1,500 in a day. We don't want that. We want that to stabilize. But in answer to your question, so this month is telling for Bitcoin, because in the short term there is still a bit of overhang as we are seeing it. We may be wrong, but we cannot forget the very, very strong monthly bull candle, the bullish candle, which you saw in November, right? That was almost a full candle, a full green candle, and mind you, November you had the sell-off. 22nd November, people got worried. The news came out from, I think it was the Coinbase CEO, that basically said that Mnuchin in the US, before he leaves, he may actually put on some pretty onerous regulation which could hurt Bitcoin, and that actually started that coincided with this sell-off. The fear there was that this would be a similar sell-off to 2018. The good news is that it wasn't. People used this as a buying opportunity, and it pushed Bitcoin to an all-time high towards the end of November. So very interesting that it fought off the first decline like it did in 2018, and that's a net positive for Bitcoin. So we like Bitcoin. With Ethereum, I mean, you want to talk about that?
Sure.
With Ethereum, it's such a tough to read situation. There's a lot of value that Ethereum can create, because you can actually build applications on it, right? And this is what the whole DeFi sector is currently aiming to do. And they are trying to basically recreate the way humans access their finances and invest their finances, right? Right now, we rely on banks or brokers. They want to completely decentralize this and empower the user. Meanwhile, Ethereum org is putting out a more scalable version, Ethereum 2.0, over the next 2 years, 2-3 years. And so the general consensus is that whether or not DeFi plays out, or whether it just gets regulated the shit out of it and just goes nowhere, beyond a high school project. Time will tell. In that period, it's one would think that, okay, Ethereum has further upside to go from a net basis. The downside, of course, with Ethereum is that it's inflatable, right? It doesn't have the strong fundamental algorithmic characteristics that Bitcoin does, which is actually deflationary, or at least it's not inflationary, let's put it that way. And as you know, it have recently. And so Bitcoin is a more scarce asset. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So the line that you've drawn right now is a scary line. Well, not really scary, but indeed, this is a flight path that you've drawn. And yes, of course, Ethereum can go up, but you can also see that there's nothing stopping it from dropping to 440, right?
Yeah.
And that's happened before. We had drawn this similar flight path 2 years ago when it was at 700-800, and we saw it dropping to 160. And that was scary, and that's exactly what happened. So with Ethereum, it depends on the tech. It depends on the appetite for DeFi. It depends very much on that. We cannot forget that there is a lot of Ethereum that people have raised in the last 2-3 years that they say they don't want to dump these projects, but yeah, they would love to dump Ethereum if it rises and turn it into fiat and use it to pay bills. So that pressure will always remain there. So with Ethereum, the answer is, it's a net positive in theory, given all the catalysts that lie ahead. Unless there's some major regulatory clampdown, it should perform. I don't know if it's going to outperform Bitcoin. There are people that say that it will replace Bitcoin because you can pay with Ethereum, which is true for services and goods, but you cannot build stuff on Bitcoin. And my view on that is, yeah, that is correct currently, but I would say that eventually the powers that be that are innovating in Bitcoin, bitcoin.org, will probably come out with competing solutions, right? So one cannot assume that it's just going to stay in this situation forever and they'll just be out innovated. So yeah, I think it's an interesting space. Time will tell.
Right. Yes, and when you actually said, I remember Ethereum will go down to $10, but then you hadn't predicted or foreseen the DeFi phenomenon, which is crazy.
Completely missed that. Yeah, completely.
Ethereum, right? And then also,
yeah.
Ethereum has some significant competition now that it didn't before. I've been somebody sent me USDT, but they sent me USDT Tron, not USDT Ether.
Right.
Because the transaction fees on the Tron USDT are tiny, and the gas fees are ridiculous on Ethereum. And then we've also got the rise of Polkadot and some other alternatives that are building and doing well, much, much cheaper. So who knows?
Good point.
Who knows? Okay.
But on the Tron thing, is that just because nobody uses Tron, or is it, and that's why the gas fees are low? Or sorry?
Well, they said to me they were going to send me Tron because the fees are tiny. It's fast and the fees are tiny.
Okay.
I got it delivered to my Tron Link wallet, which is very similar to MetaMask.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Well, okay.
Then your favorite, Kay, is that right? Am I besmirching you?
Oh God. XRP, yeah.
This is Ripple. And only because people are interested. The Spark airdrop is happening. The snapshot is happening today or something. I may have missed it. I only hold a little bit of XRP as a medium-term play. So what can you see with XRP? Look at this, though. Look at that. It's got a long way to go.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it looks like the dot-com bubble, right? If you look at 2000, you look at the tech plays, they all had this huge spike. In 2000, then you had the big bust. And then some of the companies over the next decade reached those levels again, and even some surpassed them. So the question for Ripple is, of course, by the way, just to be clear, I don't know much about Ripple's adoption. We have a few Ripple fans in the chat, so my knowledge is based on them. I don't know enough to say if the fundamentals are there to drive this back up to its pre-crash highs.
Yep.
I do understand that the current rally was driven by the whole Bitcoin rally, and that people basically looked at the price of Ripple and said, oh, well, okay, if Bitcoin is 20,000 and Ripple is 20 cents, maybe, this would go up, and it went up. I'm not sure there was any significant fundamental news that was new that drove this. And to be quite frank, I don't really understand what it is that they do that is so differentiated that will allow for disruption and for them to be needed by every single bank. There's a company that we are looking at. It's called Quant. You probably know them, QNT, Quant Networks. They have been around for a while, silently building out good tech in the background, and they seem to have some significant billable partnerships with major agencies. I think also government, but corporations, right? So again, we need to do more work, so we don't know. But if we look at something like that and we're like, okay, they've actually applied blockchain technology properly, it seems, at least. We don't know yet. With Ripple, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you would know better.
Well, I was looking this morning about the Spark airdrop, and I think what Spark does, it allows for smart contracts to be built on the XRP blockchain.
Oh, right. Okay.
And Ripple is fast. It's cheap to send, and the banks are adopting it. So there may be something.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
To be, to ride on the coattails of Goldman Sachs and others like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I wouldn't know enough to kind of opine on it. The technicals are, they are kind of what they are. We traded Ripple a lot. It's a good coin that we had in terms of trading, good volatility 2 years ago or so. Currently, we don't own any, and we don't really track it.
Okay, all right, no problem at all. Anything else you want to cover or look at before we finish up?
No, that's. I think that's it. I think that's pretty short, concise. I hope it added a bit of information and value, and look forward to coming back on.
Absolutely, okay. I really look forward to that, and I'm going to have the links to the projects in the description below. And if people want to buy SXDT, they can do that from Fork Delta or UT, from Fork Delta or from the SXDT own exchange, Spectre Exchange. It's not open for holders from the US, residents and US citizens. You cannot do this. Very strict KYC procedures in place to prevent that, and that's not because of Spectre. That's because of US regulations. And Kay, thank you so much. It's been a complete treat. I look forward to having you on again. And for everybody who's watching, comments, questions, letters that signify your particular favorite coin or token in the description, in the comments. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto K signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
The next evolution in decentralized tech is here. Verus is a truly free, open-source blockchain protocol designed for privacy, safety, open participation, and unlimited scalability. Verus combines the latest in cryptography and zero-knowledge privacy to enable its vision of public blockchains as a service. Any individual or organization can create recoverable, self-sovereign identities, own their data, and build and run apps and business software on any PC or mobile platform. And coming soon on Verus, individuals and organizations can tokenize assets and create currencies. Create a shared economy by tokenizing a house, for example, or bootstrap and crowdfund a project with fully liquid algorithmic conversion across multiple blockchains and cryptocurrencies. Individuals and communities can create their own microeconomies and connect to a worldwide network of other public blockchains, organizations, and economies, and they don't have to pay anyone to do these things or give away the rights to their data. Build with us. Verus. Truth and privacy for all. Learn more and join the conversation on Discord.